Hey everyone, Adam here, Subwizard Podcast. Today we're going to review a movie. We're going to talk about My Best Worst Adventure that was written and directed by Joel Soisson. If the name sounds familiar, well, one, the guy's done a ton of work, especially if you're into horror, which this movie is not, but he has a lot of work in that field. If you read his IMDb, guaranteed you've seen some of his work, but also Joel was kind enough to come on the show, and we talked pretty extensively about this movie, My Best Worst Adventure. And this is one that when it came across my emails, I wasn't sure if it was going to be for me. It looked like it was really kiddie. Sorry, Joel, but the cover art for the poster is really not good. It kind of looks like a bad Photoshop job that someone would do in like a high school class, like 14, 15-year-olds. Anyway, the movie is actually very good. It follows a young girl. Sorry if I seem distracted. I'm trying to pull up names. I believe it's Lily Patra. It's kind of hard. There's no picture of her on IMDb because she is a non-actress. This was like her first big project, which is kind of cool because she acts alongside another kid that becomes her best friend in the movie, and I'm pretty sure that is Pan Rugtawater. Sorry for butchering it. It's a Thai name. Names are not my specialty, let alone foreign language names. Anyway, this girl is... I thought her parents had split up. Joel had kind of mentioned that maybe her mother had passed away, but either way, she's left with her father. Her father's not a bad guy, but he's not the world's best at either. He really just doesn't know what to do with his kid, and she seems to be acting out a little bit. So he sends her to live with her mother's family for a while in Thailand. So you take a kid, she's got full electricity, indoor plumbing, an iPad, internet, all the stuff that we take for granted every day living where we live, and is sent to Thailand where they don't have any of that stuff. It's a complete culture shock, and she doesn't even speak the language. She also doesn't really care to speak. So as the movie progresses, it starts where she's doing journal entries that kind of get you into her head since the character doesn't really speak, and it serves the purpose of what would be exposition. Luckily, it doesn't come across as exposition. It's handled very well, and eventually that tool dies off, which normally in a movie would kind of bother me. It's like if you're going to start saying, we're doing this in a movie, then do it. Like in Zombieland, they start with these big things, here's the rules, and they just kind of drop it midway through for whatever reason. I could go down a whole rabbit hole as to why that movie's trash, but in this case, it makes sense because she's doing these journal entries on her iPad, and she's living in a place where electricity is very limited, and it goes away. So she's forced to confront her new reality and this new world that is totally bizarre. And what was cool about how Joel wrote the script is a lot of things that happen in the movie, like water buffalo races, which seems like something that would never happen. It was just kind of there for comic effect, is something that is done in Thai villages like this. And the kid that she becomes friends with, the kid that Lily becomes friends with, Pan, not sure the character names, his dream is to race this water buffalo. And his drunk kind of loser dad beats on the kid and takes out his aggression on him. And it is pretty serious subject matter, but what's nice about My Best Worst Adventure is it has this kind of whimsical, larger-than-life, otherworldly feel, even though it's very much grounded in reality, and it doesn't make light of the serious things like child abuse, but it kind of takes them head-on and just looks at them for what they are. The two kids go on this adventure together of mostly self-discovery, but also kind of Pan realizing his dreams and Lily realizing connection and friendship because she just seems kind of closed off from the world when we first meet her. And it is a coming of age story. It is a teen... I almost said teen romance. It's not a romance as much as just kind of coming to and having having emotions and feeling out your place in the world. The approach of using non-actors instead of regular, everyday actors, I think, made a big difference. Maybe some of the acting wasn't as great as it could have been from some of the extras, but because it's in a foreign language, it seemed to hide that a little bit if there was a discrepancy. I would have guessed that Lily and Pan were both professional actors as kids, and that's just what they did. The fact that she hadn't acted before this really speaks volumes to what she could do with her career if she wanted to go in that direction. Another thing I really want to give Joel credit for was he went to Thailand to film. And we live in this age of a 4K and 8K camera being readily available. People have super high def TVs. It's not hard to get a decent 4K 65-inch TV for your living room at this point. It's not, only something the very rich have. Home entertainment setups are better than they've ever been for more people than ever, especially given the last year and a half of locking down and losing home theaters. A lot of people upgraded, and it was always a sticking point with me, even in the big Hollywood movies, that they would make a big deal of this international adventure their characters going on, and it's all close-ups and dark rooms and the characters' faces or whatever. Show me the world. Show me something. Let me use this big home setup that I have, that a lot of people have, especially in a place like Thailand, which is a gorgeous country. And that's something that Joel talks about in our interview. He wanted to capture, and he does. When I started watching this screener on my laptop, I had to stop it at about 15 minutes in and then restart it, watching it on a proper setup to respect the medium, is a quote that I like from Martin Scorsese. But also just, if the filmmaker puts the time and effort into showing things and giving you wide landscapes and beautiful scenery, you want to see it. My Best Worst Adventure is available now. I really recommend you check this one out. It could be safe for kids, geared toward kids, but I don't want to say it's a kids movie. It's definitely kid friendly. It had a light, airy, fun, adventurous feel to it, even when it's getting into some of the darker stuff. They don't dwell on the dark stuff. It doesn't bring you down or take you out of the movie. It's available now on VOD. I recommend you check it out. It was very cool. It seemed like a different kind of thing than a lot of what you've seen, so maybe that's why I'm assuming that people might see the trailer or something and be turned away. One thing I will say, do not let the poster cover art turn you away, because, sorry Joel, but it's not good. The movie's good, cover art, find a different graphic designer. Anyway, that's going to do it for My Best Worst Adventure. As I said, available now. Also available on our YouTube channel here is our interview with Joel Soisson about his movie. Make sure you like and subscribe. A lot more interviews, a lot more new movie coverage, more unboxings coming your way. We have another Comic-Con coming up in a month, so we're going to have a lot of con coverage there. Not going to want to miss out. Also, make sure you listen to So Wizard Podcast every single week wherever you get your podcasts. SoWizardPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, videos, merchandise, and more. So Wizard Podcast can also be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get multiple monthly bonus shows. We love hearing feedback. Drop us a note in the comments. Leave us something on social media. All of our accounts can be found after the show and in the show notes. And on a more personal note, a good friend and I have an ongoing comedy comic series out right now. It's called Social Studies. We have 7 issues out right now, ready to go. We put them together in a softcover trade, and we are doing a crowdfunding campaign on that on Indiegogo, where you can get in at a rock bottom price. Like, we're basically just covering printing and shipping so that we can get books in as many hands as possible. It's a great time to jump on before Chapter 2, Season 2 kicks off in January, which is well underway, so no delays in your entertainment there. You can find all that and more at socialstudiescomic.com. Thanks.